the red light is on, so we'll just wait just a few more minutes. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and start. So we will call the meeting to order of the West Fargo Public Library Board of Directors on Thursday, May 13th, 2021 at 5:30. The first item on the agenda is to approve the order of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the order?
So moved.
Okay, we have a first. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Keep first. Okay, first and second. I'm receiving signals from back in the back, but we'll keep going. So we have a first and a second to approve the order of the agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The order of the agenda has been approved. Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make go ahead.
No, you.
Okay, so moved.
Okay, Mandy has made a motion.
I'll
Is-
second.
Larry has second. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signal by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to the regular agenda, we have several items to cover today. Our first item is an update on future facilities options and partnerships. Is Tina able to join us?
She's on her way. She went to the library, so she's turned around. She's coming
Okay.
to the chambers.
Oh.
So
Yep.
we will just move that item until
Sounds good. Yep.
she is available. So then we will move to the second item, which is to review and recommend candidates for the Library Board of Directors. So first, I want to say that we had a wide variety of applicants, and the caliber of our applicants was really, really high. I was really impressed with our applicants. Carissa and I met this morning and were able to determine our top three. Thank you for sending those in. And our top three that we will need to discuss are Leanne Hansen, Bonnie Oderman, and Tony Stukel. We have three top candidates and two openings. We have two board members who did not resubmit their applications. So we will need to narrow those three down to two.
Do we open it up for discussion now then?
It is open for
Okay.
discussion.
So my top two would be Tony and Leanne. The reasoning being I like Tony's experience with libraries and Leanne's experience as a teacher, as a principal. So those were my top two for
Okay.
those reasons.
Does anybody else have any insight they would like to share?
Nothing other than concurring.
Concurring? Okay.
Well, it's ironic. Those were my three of my top ones as well. But my thought is, I was kind of like hoping somebody without library experience, because we already have a professional staff for that. So I thought that it would be good to have a diverse board view that weren't librarians, simply because we already have librarians. That's just my thought.
It's a good point. Another thing with Tony is I don't know if this matters, he would be the only male on the panel. I don't know if that matters or not.
Steve, I'm kind of making tally marks as we go here. Was there one that was an overwhelming yes for you?
The other two you mentioned were two of my top
The
three. as
top,
well.
okay, so,
And I don't want you to think, yeah, he was high on the list as well. It's just that I was like, no, we already have professionals.
That is a good point.
There'll be two other, there'll be two new people on the board, right?
correct.
Okay, so I think Tony would be valuable, his librarian experience notwithstanding, but he would be able to interpret librarian speak to the members of the board who are not librarians, regardless of whether or not we have professional librarians in the room.
Mhm.
And I will modestly say that has been something of some role that I fulfilled
Yes,
in the past. Been able to translate librarian speak into ordinary person speak.
Do you know him personally?
I can't imagine that I have not met him, if I may. So at some point in my life here, yes, I probably have met him, but I wouldn't be able to pick him out of a lineup.
Gotcha.
Jody, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share?
So Tony and Leanne were also my two top candidates. I felt like I personally was relieved to see somebody with library experience apply, because when I saw that Larry hadn't resubmitted his application, I felt like losing his expertise on the board was going to be a challenge for the board. And so I personally feel like that is really important to have that representation and that kind of expertise on the board. And I also feel like he brings quite a historical amount of expertise. And I feel like that's really would bring a really strong voice and just a level of expertise that would be really appreciated. I thought Leanne, her connection to the schools was wonderful. I thought her previous experience on a community board with the park board experience she has would be really helpful. She also has experience with Friends of the Library group. I thought that was wonderful experience. So she was also my other top candidate.
Yeah, no, those are good points. Those are very good points. And I certainly see your viewpoint there. I mean, there definitely is value in that. They were all good. So picking the top two out of 3 or 4 people that were really good, or, I don't think we can go wrong.
Agreed. I was super impressed. We're reading the.
And I think we
credentials and
had
everything.
7 applicants, and really all of them were highly qualified. It was a difficult choice.
Yes, yes.
To Steve's point, what stood out from me on Bonnie's application is that she has some experience with public speaking and grant experience, and I didn't see that in the other 2. So I guess it's kind of which way the board wants to go. I've been keeping tallies here, and we do, based on what people have said so far, we do have 2 candidates that we would like to propose, but I just wanted to make sure that that point was made.
Good point too.
Do we need a motion to forward candidates' names to the commission?
Yes, we will need a motion to recommend 2 candidates to the West Fargo City of Commission to be appointed to the West Fargo Public Library Board of Directors.
And I shall move that we forward the names of Tony Stuckel and Leanne
Hansen.
Hansen to the city commission.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion on those 2 names, Leanne Hansen and Tony Stuckel?
No, I think they'll all be good. It was nice to have that many qualified people. I think the board will be in good hands. I wouldn't have ranked myself in the top 3 had I been applying for the board. And that's a good thing, because I think that there are about 5 people that were very qualified. So yeah, good thing.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, let's take a vote on the motion to recommend the following candidates to the West Fargo City Commission to be appointed to the West Fargo Public Library Board of Directors. Those candidates being Leanne Hansen and Tony Stuckel. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Mandy, can you just elaborate on, or Carissa, on what happens next with these candidates?
That would definitely be Carissa.
So what we'll do is we will put them on an upcoming commission agenda, and they will formally approve them with a motion at one of their upcoming meetings.
And when is the
and then they
next-
will be officially in place at the July meeting, which is July 8th. So this is good because they'll be able to come to, or be invited to, at least the June meeting, like we talked about before.
And there is no requirement to come, but it is a public meeting and they are invited.
Yeah.
When is the commission meeting?
We can really, I think, put it on any upcoming agenda as long as we have it in before they would need to be in place. So I think we'll just put it on whatever upcoming one I can get it on within the time frame needed to meet the deadline for posting the next commission agenda. The 7th.
The 7th.
Thank
Okay,
you.
excellent.
Didn't know the date. Appreciate it. Yeah. So yes, the next one we'll put it on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, and Tina joined us. So we're going to go backwards in our order and go to the first item, which is an update. Tina, if you're ready, we don't have to do it right now. Okay, so we're on the update on future facilities, options, and partnerships.
Thank you, Board President and members. And first of all, I apologize. I not only went to the wrong building, but then I didn't have my key fob, so I was locked out and I had to wait for IT. I'm really doing great today. It's just going to be one of them days. So I don't know if you have questions directly for me. Where we're at right now is we're still cultivating and want to have the partnership with the library and potentially the schools and city to look at a joint building together, trying to find spaces, thinking that through. But because you guys are ahead of the game, you guys already have your needs study and everything all done, and so does the school, and we're lagging behind. We're finishing up what our needs are. So that we can present it to commission and show not only what we need, but why we need it, along with what you need and why you need it, which is relatively obvious. And then the schools, if they participate, they would do the same. And then our next request to them would be to move forward to have an architect help us decide what the space needs would be all combined and what that could look like, what kind of size of lot we'd need. There's a couple other nuances out there, but for us, the big thing is that we need to get our point across to commission that it's pretty clear to the majority of the commission that we need a bigger library. That's pretty clear. We haven't got the point across yet that they know we need more space here, but we have to show them why we need it. And so we found already, and this might come as a surprise to Mandy, but in working with the PD, because one of the suggestions from commission was maybe you want to build a new police station and City Hall can use this space. And so working with the police department, we have found that they have a large need for additional space. Their building was completed in 2015. And a lot of their necessary spaces are already far too small. And so we're trying to compile a report for the commission to show them your space needs, our space needs, the police department space needs, and give them a request to move forward. So we're hoping, it's budget time right now, so it's pretty much a tender time. So with that in mind, we're hoping to get some information to them no later than July, so that we can find out if they're interested in letting us, hire an architect. And the architect would just be to give us the concepts of how would it work to have a library with City Hall or with this and that? What kind of space do we need? What size of lot do we need? And then we can work more on locations and more direct information. It won't give us all the details of what each room will look like. That will come later. And then that's the details that you as a board and Carissa will work with along with your funding. And my only suggestion to you, and John can give you more details because I did not read Century Code today to double check it, but you as a board need to start concentrating, I think, on what you need to do to move the funding forward. And so, because there's going to be a need there, and the city will work together and collaborate. But as a board, I think that's important that you have that top of mind, because it's something we're going to get asked shortly after. If we're able to get an architect to work, that's going to be the next question. So, John, I don't know if you want to explain what the process is for the library board as far as the building and so on and so forth.
Yeah, thanks, Tina. So under the Century Code, the library board, if you want to build or lease additional facilities or space, need to develop a plan, and then it's presented to the commission, and then the commission has to put it out for a hearing, and then take appropriate action after that. And so there's kind of an involved process before you can get approval to go forward with the funding for a new building or a new lease for a library.
John, talk about hearing, talk about like at the commission meeting, like a public hearing or a separate public hearing where people could just.
Correct. Public hearing, and I'm just going to pull up the statute and refresh my memory to make sure I have all the steps down. Well, Tina,
This is kind of, I mean, this is a huge major deal. I mean, are we advertising for that in any way other than just the normal agenda we're supposed to be going on?
I won't answer for Carissa and what you as a board want to do for the library, but I can honestly tell you that there definitely would be a communication plan put in place beforehand. And Carissa has, Ellen, and then we have our communication staff. So my idea in my head is that the different groups with their different communication people would get together and forge a plan for communicating out to the public and getting their input when the time is right. Because it wouldn't just be a one-time communication. We'll be communicating with the public throughout. Because as you as a board get going, you're going to want to have special input on different things as well. Even if, let's say the box is checked and they say, yep, new building for you, good for you. You're going to have a lot of things you're going to want public input on. So there's going to be a lot of planning, a lot of work. This isn't like a 6-month process. This is more like a 2-year process. So am I correct? Yeah. And then you can add whatever you have there.
Yep, that's exactly along the lines that I was thinking too. There would be a lot of opportunity to put notice out about when steps in the project, and certainly before anything would come before the commission too. Yep.
and so I just had a chance to refresh my memory of the statute, and it does the notice period is relatively short. It requires a 6-day notice prior to the hearing to be published in a newspaper. Keep in mind, that's the basic legal requirement. You can go way beyond the basic legal requirement. You are required to seek the advice and comment to the state library board, and then also the general public at the hearing. And then ultimately the decision to go forward would rest with the city commission. So they have, I don't get into the policy, but you want to explain to the city commission the plan so that they are on board with it.
And those are things we can work on with you also ahead of time, making sure we have the proper information, getting to the commission and back again, and all of those types of things. I mean, it's going to be a very communication heavy task to make sure that all the people know what's going on and why it's important and so on and so forth. And Carissa has a great grasp, and so do all of you. So I think we'll be able to, as we move forward, work real closely and get through the pieces. And you know what, if we make a mistake, we'll back up and we'll work harder. So we're all new to this.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I know that this is a very early conversation. I just wanted to, there have been conversations, and I just wanted to make sure that all of the board was aware of what was going on. If it is going to be a while, it is, I don't know how to achieve it, but it is my opinion that there may need to be capital improvements made to the physical building we are in now. It's not very user friendly, and there hasn't been a lot of improvements made since it was put in the new space. So that I just wanted to hear kind of a timeline so that we can make really good decisions as a board for the future of the library, wherever it may be.
And thank you, Board President. I can't, I say 2 years, but until we start moving forward with the commission, we can't set a true timeline. But I would imagine, and John could probably, he has more experience than me, it would probably take, even if we got approval soon, it would take at least 2 years to design, build. I mean, if not, yeah. So
It will take
whatever
longer
your
than
thoughts
2
are,
years.
and we'll be working closely whether you like it or not. So we'll get it
Yes.
figured out.
I understand it will be longer than that, just
Okay.
so the public understands that as well. It's not an immediate turnaround.
And then maybe one additional comment, as you start thinking about the finances, you're allowed to work within your mill levy cap for a library. If you need to exceed that, then you need to go to the voters, and there's a process. So if you're contemplating increasing beyond your mill levy rate, then it has to go, that increase has to go to the voters. So.
John, where would we find that actual cap? I know what I think it is in my mind,
Let me look it
but
up.
that was also an important budget item that Chris is going to need to know going forward.
I will look it up right now.
Are we still in discussions with doing a combination building?
That's still something that we would like to do.
Okay.
Yes. Hasn't, we won't know until we get to the point of an architect telling us what's possible and how much space it would take. So, but it's still the hope that we have. I
And if we're
believe.
looking at combining those three entities, then do you take the combination of the mill levy cap with all of them, or you you have more?
That might be a little too detailed for today's conversation. Today is really, really introductory, just so
Okay.
we know what direction we're going as a library.
As we make next steps, we'll be definitely, I mean, of course, it'll be a very close contact, working close and, yeah.
I have a question and related to the mill levy cap. So when you say the mill levy cap, do you mean? So that's our operating mill levy cap. How does that tie into what happens with the building?
So if you have to exceed your mill levy for a
Mhm.
building, say, and once again, this is totally hypothetical, so please don't say, please don't take this as I'm advocating for increasing the mill levy, but if you were to say, we need an additional 2 mill levies to build a library, that additional 2 mill levies would need to be voter approved. But if you're able to build a building within your operating revenues and your mill levy, then you don't need voter approval. You just need city commission approval.
Okay.
It's that extra above the mill levy cap. And I'm looking for that right now.
Okay.
And I think this is a process where we will continue to be educated as a board. I hope that it's a continuous conversation that goes back and forth so that we know, I know we won't know all the answers today. But so that we can start to have the conversation and find the best options.
And myself and other staff are more than willing to meet with you and Carissa. We collaborate with Carissa a lot, but meet with any of you at any time to discuss anything about in relation to this or other items that involve the library. So.
How
I
old
haven't
is,
had, go ahead.
after you?
I haven't had a chance to watch maybe the last 2 months of commission meetings like I used to, but has the police department talked about that with the city commission? How far along are they as a possible partner?
It's a good question. The police department has worked closely with me because I needed to know if they had space needs, if they didn't have space needs. And so it's been quite a few months since I first walked up and said, if we weren't here, what would you do with this space? Would you want the space? Would you not want the space? How does your space work for you? Da, 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 da. And then a few months ago, I went back and asked them to please list what's working, what's not working, what their needs are, and where their space needs are at. And so we could get a full picture. And so right now that's still internal because I want to gather all the information before I go in front of the commission and say, these are the thoughts. I mean, I've talked with commissioners and said, I'm going to be bringing this forward. I'm going to be bringing this forward, but I want a really clear, concise report when I bring it forward publicly, because once you bring it forward publicly, it's there.
And I want to
So-
make sure that we're talking about library business today and not other departments during our board meeting.
Well, if these are potential tenants with us, how is that
Oh.
not relevant?
I'm sorry, excuse me, they would not be a tenant. The police department would potentially stay here. If City Hall built with the library, the police department would stay here. They wouldn't come with. Courts and police would stay here. Is what we're that's what we're planning right now. They would stay here. It would be City Hall, library, schools is the potential dream right now, and we'll see where all that ends up. But that doesn't include police or court.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
The mill, sorry. The mill levy cap is 4 mills. I don't know what we're currently levying for this.
Ooh, we're at like 9.7.
We have so there's a voter approved higher amount.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yep. It's
thought it
not,
was more
it's-
like 9.5.
Okay.
Yep.
Was the cap, but I'm
So we would
not-
need to look up what the exact 9 point something is, but it's different than what's
Okay.
outright in the century code. Yep.
So if you've had a voter approved for 9.7, that would be your cap then for what you could.
Okay, we'll do some research on that then and find out for sure for you.
How old is this building?
Okay, if you go, this part of the building is, that you're sitting in right now is 5, 6 years old. When you go down the hall where the actual city offices are housed at, that building was initially the library, way back in the day. So I don't know if that's the 1970s.
I did some research
60s,
on this
70s, I'm
and
not-
it was somewhere between 73 and 78 that the building was originally built.
Yep, and it was the library and the city offices and the police department. And then the city took over the whole thing and the library went to Ladone. And so, yeah, it's kind of on its last leg.
So when did the library go to Ladone?
2005.
2005. So it's been there for 16 years and
So the-
very few improved.
The city has been here for 16 years.
No, it was here in the beginning too,
Okay,
Yeah, but we were just
the
much smaller.
70s.
in the 7, okay, but
Maybe the 80s, but I'm pretty
I'm
sure.
just trying to figure out. So it's not all of a sudden that the city and the police department have found that this space has suddenly become too small.
Correct. We've known for quite some time on the city side, because when they did the remodel and they added on the building for the police department, the decision was made by the commission at that time that they were only going to add on the police department needs and a new commission space. And so that decision was made and that's what was done and that is what it is. And then as things went forward and we reconfigured the far end of City Hall as much as we could, we just kept running out of space. And so now we're tearing down walls and putting up cubes and using closets and as offices. And it just is what it is. It's a
Yes.
cost of growth. It is. It's fine. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Carissa, can I ask you a question about the space needs assessment for the library?
Sure.
And please forgive me if this is in the space needs assessment and I just don't remember, but can you answer for us, in your opinion, how long do you think our current space needs assessment will be accurate?
I think that it's something that you would want to redo every 5 to 10 years because the data that's used to compile it is they're constantly, if they were to redo it, they would use more up-to-date data, which was the basis of all of the benchmarking within the report. So we wouldn't want to use it 10 years from now. We would want to get it redone. Because even though we maybe have the same size space, the basis of those reports is national and regional benchmarking that's used to determine what your space needs are. So they would be using more up-to-date data if they redid it. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just want to keep some sort of vision on that as we move forward and as the timeline for the new building establishes itself. I just want to make sure we're using accurate data.
I think that is a really good point that we have something that we had compiled for us recently. So we do, we ideally want to capitalize on a good consultant that we used recently with good information. But I mean, as of now, for us to use it this year and contribute to the information that we're talking about putting together, it's more than good and fine to use it. It was just put together under 2 years ago, so we can feel confident in it right now. But it's not something that we'd want to reuse for a decade necessarily. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I would assume they use maybe census information tied to that as far as needs. community
So
needs, or-
the big basis for benchmarking data behind it is actually data that's reported by all libraries across the United States and is reported at the state and the federal level. That was the big batch of information that they use to compare us to other libraries and help us figure out what size space we should be in based on what other peer libraries are in. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And if they were to redo it, they would use more recent data because it changes because we just keep reporting more and more and more every single year. So, yep.
Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay.
No, thank you for coming.
Nope, no problem. Sorry again that I was late. I won't lock myself out next time. But if you need anything at all, just don't be afraid to reach out.
Thank you
Okay?
for coming.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you, Tina.
Okay, so back to our agenda. We are on to board orientation dates and schedule. Carissa, if you want to take over.
I sure do. Give me 2 seconds to get my slide shared.
While you're doing that, I just will reiterate that the board has taken no action regarding any future buildings or changes to the current library. That was simply a discussion.
Okay, so our item is board orientation dates and potential schedule. So as we look at onboarding the 2 new board members that you are forwarding to the commission for recommendation, I've started planning for a more comprehensive orientation for new board members and really the full board, because I want to make sure that the full board gets off to a good start collectively, as we have basically half the board changing over this year. So the goal is really to ensure that everybody understands the board's role and the director's role, my role, relationship to other city entities, our finances, financial processes, legal processes, advocacy projects, long-range planning, those types of things. So last week, Alana and I met to discuss orientation topics to cover at this onboarding session that we want to have, and then some potential dates and times for the onboarding. And I would, of course, invite additional city staff and stakeholders, John Chalkley being one of them, and Tina Fisk and others, to join us to speak on certain topics. So as the current board, we just want to hear a little bit from you about this outline and the topics that we're proposing, because we want to make sure that we have the most important things covered. So if there are things in the last several years that you've thought about as you've been on the board that you would like to get more information about, or that you thought would have been helpful to know when you started, we're just looking for a little bit of feedback from you on that, and you can share that tonight at the meeting, or of course you can email me that afterwards too. I'm also going to be creating an orientation guide that's going to accompany the training, and it will hit on some items, yes, in this outline, but some extra items too that we won't necessarily cover on the day of the onboarding. And so I'm going to bring that guide back to all of you for approval next month. So it'll be a more comprehensive guide to accompany a comprehensive orientation. With that, I think I will turn it over to you all for discussion. So the topics that we are proposing, or that we brainstormed as we were thinking about what would be useful for orientation, we thought about, of course, there needs to be an intro to the library of sorts, kind of a current look at where we are, discussion of relationships and roles, board responsibilities, library law, open records, open meetings, board ethics, library professional ethics, and then of course a tour of the library. So interested to hear from you all if you think that this covers it, or if you think that there's other topics that should be added too.
If there's anything that about which I would like to know more, explained in words of 1 syllable or less, is what is a mill? I am not from around here, but maybe the other people are. And in my experience, before I moved here, we didn't talk about mill levies. So what's a mill? How is it determined? Just, I'd like a definition. And also, if you'd like me to be around for this orientation, I'd be happy to do that,
Thanks, Larry.
because
Yeah.
you know I have opinions.
I can maybe jump in really simple. A mill is based on the value of the properties, and it changes based on the property values in the community. Right now, a mill is 180,000, about, give or take a little bit, which is going to go up, I think. So 1 mill, so the library's budget then is what you said, 9 mills, 4 mills, whatever you said, is that number times 9, or that number times 4.
I never had that on a sheet of paper.
So, yeah.
Yep.
That is something,
The same small circle.
yes, that we had discussed and wanted to make sure that that was clear, at least clearly introduced, hard to remember, but clearly introduced so that board members could have that. John, it looked like you were going to say something.
Yeah, even kind of putting a finer point on it. So your home has value. You know, you get in the mail, it says I'm just using examples.
And of course, it's wrong, but
Let's say it says your home is worth $300,000. So the county applies the true, that's your true and full value. And then they apply another calculation, which is called the taxable value, which is 50% of that number from a real estate for residential taxes. So then it's $150,000. And then they apply the total mill levy. When they do the taxation, each jurisdiction has a number of mills they collect. So like the school is about 150 mills. The city is probably like 75 mills. The library is 9 mills. The county's like 30 mills. And then they have these other jurisdictions like Garrison, and the Water Resource District might have 4 mills.
But at the present, a mill is $180,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's what 1 mill across the city translates into, but on your own house. So your total tax bill, your property tax bill, it's probably about 300 mills. And that's a mill is an expression, it's a mathematical expression. So it's like 0.001 of your value. So you take 300.3300, apply it to 150, and that's what your tax bill ends up being.
All right. I think this should be in the newspaper.
So, well, it is accessible to you if you enjoy research. I had this conversation with some members of the city, and I'm happy to email it to I think the equalization report is a public document, correct? So I saw a hard copy and was sent an email copy, and if anybody would like it, I'm happy to forward it. But it's several pages. It's 31 pages,
Cool.
maybe more. But it is a good document that explains it. And there's graphs if you like. I personally like pictures to compare, but it'll help a lot with that. So I'll send that to the whole board. It's a public document.
When I first got on the commission, I Googled on YouTube, what is a mill levy? And YouTube videos will pop up some simple explanations. That's helpful.
If for any reason, somebody not from here shows up on the board again, I think an explanation of what a mill is would be handy.
We will make sure that it is covered
That's all.
at the orientation. Yes.
Plus, I sat through several finance meetings where we talk about.
Other things that you want to point out now? Things that you think are missing?
Continue on. I'll keep thinking here.
I want to say that I appreciated the meeting that we had with John. John did an introductory meeting with me when I joined, and I think that including library law and open records and open meetings is an integral part of being a board member of any public entity. So I just appreciate that and hope that that is able to continue.
I think adding this certainly looks like a much more comprehensive list for orientation than I experienced. And so I think this will be really wonderful. If we do have time, it might be nice to touch on the space needs assessment, since I feel like that I learned a lot by reading that document. And I feel like that'll be discussed a lot moving forward as we continue to discuss building options.
Yeah, I think that there's a good way that we can distill that down and include some high level aspect of it in the orientation. And then we can definitely include it as an attachment in the guide that we put together too. Yeah, that's a good point, Jody. Thank you.
Yeah, I think just meeting the new people where they're at, now on their resumes, they're all very qualified. I would say if they look like they're deer in the headlights, give them a little time. If they look like they're ready to, put in 5 to 10 hours a week absorbing all this, give them as much as they want. Both of those things are going to be very important. The legal, tending to the legal things of meeting records, et cetera. And of course, money is probably going to be more important in the next 3-year term than it's ever been. Of course, every 3-year term, money is more important than it's ever been. But obviously where we're at with the new library, but I would say just meet people where they're at. You don't have to know it all in day one, Tony and Leanne, but just take your time. And because when I look at this, it can be a little bit overwhelming. And I think just joining in the board and trying to learn everything at once is overwhelming in itself. So I'd say just take a little time, and it's not going to be, we're not going to expect all the answers, by your third board meeting.
And one of the outcomes of this is to have binders available to reflect upon as your time on the board increases and your experience increases, so that you can go back and check. I know I'm looking forward to having a resource like this at my fingertips as I continue with the board.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is if you give somebody too much at the beginning, it's hard to remember any of it because it's just overwhelming. But I do like this idea though.
Yeah, good points.
So Carissa, you've selected 2 dates that we plan on you plan on discussing with any new board members that join. And the goal is to have all new board members, and if past or current board members are able to come, current active board members who are staying on should try to be there. But if there are current board members who will not be staying with the board, you are also welcome. Your input is invaluable.
My Zoom screen is covering up the dates. So
Sorry,
is
it's
that June 21 or 23?
Yep, those are the 2 that we've been discussing, the 21st or the 23rd, and then 1 to 5 p.m. approximately.
Thanks.
Is this in our packet for the meeting tonight? I didn't even know there were dates on here.
This was not, but I am very happy to send it to you again after the meeting. I
Yeah,
didn't
maybe that'd be
include
good.
the outline in the packet, no.
What days of the week are those?
It's a Monday and a Wednesday. And the reason that we, I haven't talked to the full board about this, but I've talked to Alana and Jody about the dates, and we we're trying to find a time that was before the actual first meeting, or the first meeting that the new board members will actually be starting on July 8th. So ideally we could do it in the second half of June so that they'd have training before they actually start. But if we had to, we could also look at July. Yep.
And if that does happen, where we have the training or orientation after, perhaps there's a summary that we can share to get through
Yep.
the first meeting, specifically the library law, open records and open meetings.
Yes, definitely.
My only thought was just maybe having it on commission day. I don't know if that will affect people's availability or not. But I think the 21st is commission day.
I think you're right now that you say that.
So
Mhm.
just throwing that out there.
Any further comments on board orientation dates and schedule?
John, you might have, not from a legal standpoint, but just from your own personal standpoint, you've been the legal counsel for a long time and seen a lot of board members come and go. Have there any thoughts of maybe, and you don't have to share during the meeting, but even just share with Alana, Carissa after the meeting, what you see, I would guess you're good at reading people, and when you see their eyes get big, it's certain things, and that might be a good idea to suggest some ideas of things that, historically people have needed a little extra help on. That's one thing that doesn't change is, 15 years ago, there was still certain things that, skills that were needed and now, so that would be a good idea from somebody who's either been on a lot of these meetings by a Zoom or in person over the years.
I'd
Thanks.
be happy to do that.
Any other further comments? Okay, we will move on to the fourth item on the agenda, which is to review the 2022 budget request schedule. Carissa sent a document out titled the West Fargo Public Library Budget Process. Did we lose? Oh, you're pulling up the screen? Okay, so this is something that Carissa and I have been working on, and the purpose of we've created a group of people, and the group of people includes the finance and library portfolio holder from the commission, a library board representative, the library director, city administrator, and finance director. And the purpose of this budget team is to create a bilateral relationship between the city and the library so that both of the entities can make educated decisions in regards to the library budget. In the past, I don't know that my experience on the board is that I have not been a good advocate on behalf of the library and have instead said, have you talked to so-and-so, and said, oh, that's great. So the purpose of this is to really educate the board, educate the city, and make the best decisions that we possibly can. So this year, I'm going to start with the 2021 budget team meetings. We've started, we had our first meeting, and this year's a little different than what we see in the future. This year, we're just trying to set up processes so that next year it's simple and clear cut. So we had our first meeting, and it was really just an initial conversation to create goals for the group. Mandy was there, I was there, and Chris was there, and various members of the city staff, all listed above. And I thought it was a really good meeting. It was about an hour long. We have another meeting set up for next week to discuss the budget.
I was going to ask you that if that's a firm, if we have a firm date and time yet.
I think it's Monday at what time?
Let me double check, but I think it's
Okay.
9 a.m. Yep, so I sent that out.
I must have missed that. Okay, Monday at 9 a.m.
Are you trying to make those on same day of the week?
Right now, I have it at 10 in my calendar.
Then it's 10. Yes.
10,
Yep.
the
Yep.
17th.
Yep.
And that's where at?
It is
Haggart
at City Hall
room?
in the Haggart room.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
And between the meetings, Carissa is continuing to work on the budget, and I believe you're working with city staff on that. So it's not necessarily the most streamlined process, but it is the way in which we're all educating ourselves. So we have another meeting set up, and then probably just one more meeting after that. And we have it listed as optional, we'll see how the meeting on Monday goes. In the future, if you scroll to the top of the page, there will be as many as 8 meetings we're planning for. That's a top number of meetings that we would possibly have. This timeline aligns with the fiscal department's budgeting schedule for the entire city. So we're trying to fit what we do with the city. We operate a little bit different. We have a unique relationship. We are a city department, but the library is managed by a board of directors, which adds another layer to the process. So we have made sure that this timeline fits with the city, and we actually discussed it at the last meeting we had to make sure. So the input is mutual on how things are moving forward. Krista, do you have anything you'd
I
like
was
to
just
add?
going to add that this is a comprehensive list of steps. So there aren't 8 meetings. It's really 2 for sure meetings and 1
Yes.
optional meeting. And then the other numbers on here are like more steps in the full process, just as added clarity. But yes.
Yes, you are correct. The team does not meet on all of these. For example, April 15th is not a full meeting. It is simply the director submitting things. And it is not a hard and fast timeline. It is just a goal to use. Does anybody have any questions?
Who is the current library board representative, or is it too new to have one at this time?
I attended the last meeting. My intent is to finish out this year and then next year, if somebody else wants to, that's great. If somebody wants to step in this year, that's also fine with me.
Okay, so you'd be a good resource to see the new people and kind of feel them out for if they're up for if they're up for the challenge, I would guess this would be an invaluable opportunity to learn a lot in one spot if they're up for
Yep.
the challenge.
This is where I learned about the equalization report, which I've already emailed to all of you. So yes, it is a great resource. It is a meeting of the minds and a great conversation. And yeah, Mandy is the board, so we can have 2 board members present. If we have 3, it becomes a public meeting. So Mandy represents the board. At the last meeting, Tina was there, and I don't know Jim's last name, but Jim was there as well.
Jim Leonard.
And
Yep.
Commission President Dardis represented the finance and library portfolio holders. The commission also runs into the same issue that we do, that if they have more than 2 people in the room, it becomes a public meeting.
My head's spinning and I've been on the board for several years. So yeah, maybe it's going to be a balancing act. It's going to be a balancing act.
It's exciting to be active in the board and not have opportunities to be active in the board and see how the library works in different ways than just at our monthly meetings. It's a great opportunity.
It's
think-
exciting for me too, and I really appreciate it. So I'm excited about the process too.
I
And
think
you
it's
really
really
slowed
great to
down
have,
the lovely conversation for me. So I appreciated it.
I think it's really great to have a process like this. And I mean, just like all processes, it may need changes, but I think it's really wonderful to have a well thought out and identified timeline to address the budget. In the past, I don't remember us putting what feels like this much thought and certainly not this many identified times to discuss a budget.
And that's not to say that the library staff maybe didn't, they put
Right.
in a lot of thought, but the board itself didn't get that involved in it.
Correct. Yeah.
Any further discussion on the review of the budget request schedule?
Oh, thanks for all your work.
Chris, at the next meeting, will you have a draft budget?
That's correct. I was going to end by saying that. So yes, at the June meeting, we'll review a draft budget.
Okay. All right, we will move on to the 5th item on our agenda, which is the discussion of public transit related to library services. Larry, one of our board members, sent out an email to the board of concern, and I have asked him to speak to it.
I'll be brief. I asked a colleague if she was applying for an open job at the library. She said no, because she doesn't drive. She lives somewhere on 13th Avenue in Fargo, and was told me that the public transport options to get to and from West Fargo to Fargo are poor. That the bus, should she be required to work later into the evening, the bus service is very poor. And so that prompted me to raise this question with the board. And in order to ensure that the library has access to quality employees, that improved public transportation options are necessary.
We have a map bus commissioner. John, do you know who it is offhand? Wonder if, I can't think which one has that.
I wondered if the library board could advocate in some way for the commission, the city commission, to look into the transportation options and problems.
That would be map bus and MetroCog.
Recollection was there were some proposed changes to the routes that were under discussion. Don't remember if it had to do with the north side of West Fargo. I know there was some concern about the bus driving by Cashwise and a couple other places. Can't remember who's working on that right now.
Well, the library being a bus stop would be keen.
How far away, I pulled up what I think is the route, but I can't read it.
There's a stop, are you asking about,
How far is the stop
Stop.
or how far is the route? Because I know it will stop if you ask them to, but it will only pick you up. So where is the nearest scheduled stop for the bus?
I believe it's on Fourth Avenue. So if you were to walk down Third Street from the library and you hit Fourth Avenue, you'd need to walk a couple blocks east and there's a stop there.
Do you know how many blocks?
I would say 2 to 3.
2 to 3.
Yep.
Has there ever been a stop right at the library in their previous routes that anyone knows of?
Not that I know of. In my tenure working for the city of West Fargo, there's always been a stop on Fourth Avenue that I remember in recent years, but I don't know if it's moved at all along Fourth Avenue.
Oh, okay. I think that's.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention. To
Yes.
have a real life example is sad and yet important to
Know
know.
how to make it.
Well, and obviously it must be a problem for visitors as well, or could potentially be a problem for visitors as well.
Yeah, if this is a paid position that is being affected, can you imagine how many casual users of the library that aren't getting paid are not going to the library because of inconvenience? If
Mhm.
somebody that's actually can make money from it is impacted, I can't imagine how many people, like you said, would be impacted that are, just need the services.
My question would be, can the library board advocate in some way for improved transportation options? If the board can, then who will the request come from and to whom will it go?
I'm going to send an email right now to Commissioner Brad Olson. We're both on MetroCog, and that would be one resource to get directly to Map Bus.
Okay,
Okay.
make it so. Um,
Mandy, if you think more, if a letter from the entire board would be appropriate, let us know. And
It would be, yeah, it would be,
Okay.
yeah, Cindy Gray is the head of MetroCog. And so it would be addressed to Cindy,
Okay.
Cindy and,
so is that something that the board does want to do? I don't want to get ahead of ourselves if people want to do it individually or if the entire board would like
need a
to.
motion.
We should have a motion and then we can discuss it.
I move that the board send a letter to fill in the blank
MetroCog.
at MetroCog and advocate for better public transportation service to and from the library. Let's make the library a bus stop.
Okay,
That's my motion.
there has been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Now we can discuss it.
So my discussion would be, which way do the wise minds in the room feel like it's more effective? Individual letters or collective letter?
I'd go for a collective letter. We, the
Yeah.
members of the West Fargo Public Library Board of Directors, have something to say.
Does anyone know any of the representatives from that organization?
Andy,
I do.
Andy's on MetroCog.
Yeah, I'm on MetroCog.
I mean, do you think that would be
would
at
it,
least worth a,
Yeah, absolutely. Because
Okay.
they're always looking for suggestions, and I think this would be a perfect suggestion that they'd take interest in.
okay.
Brad's emails.
I'm trying to read that. Yeah, West Fargo is, Mandy, do you know if there's more than one route? I just picked Route 20, for example.
I'm not the Map Bus commissioner, but I think there's maybe 3.
There might be more that go south. I had to click on one.
But I'm not
to-
100% sure.
There's the whole, here's another one. Maybe I was on the wrong one. Oh no, that's Route 20.
I know there's multiple stops, but I do think there's just one actual loop into West Fargo, at least
It's a touch.
when I've looked most recently, there's not multiple routes, I don't think, but there's multiple stops.
Is there a stop here at City Hall?
I think the stop on Fourth Avenue is kind of like serving, it's almost in the middle of City
What-
Hall, I think, and the library, if I remember right.
What avenue is just to the north of us? The one that the door that we come in, what avenue is that? That's Fourth Avenue. Okay,
Fourth, yep.
just so I can get my place. So it sounds to me that the board is in support. So I think we'll take a vote, and if you are not in support, please vote accordingly. And if the board approves it, I will compose a letter and send it out for you to review, and then we can send it to the appropriate people. So I will entertain all those in favor of the motion to send a letter to MetroCog and West Fargo's representatives on that task force to seek a stop at the West Fargo Public Library. Please say aye.
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 Oppose, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Larry. Good luck to whoever has to put that motion in the notes. Okay, our sixth item, presentation of the 2020 West Fargo Public Library Annual Report. Carissa.
Thank you, Alana. I'll be brief on this. I included our 2020 annual report in your packet, and I mailed a copy to all of you too. And I presented a more in-depth look at the report to the City Commission on April 19th, and it's quite literally full of community feedback and data that really showcases the positive impact that the library had on people's lives in 2020. And so I'll just say a couple of things. When the pandemic hit, we were all really determined to find the best ways to keep serving the community and provide access to our collections and our services. And I'm really proud of how we did that. And I'm also really proud of the bigger picture items and steps that we were still able to take as a staff and a board in planning for the future and developing outreach services and partnering more closely with key organizations like the school district. And we were still able to do all of that in 2020, which is pretty remarkable. And I think it's those things that are gonna really continue to broaden our impact and better integrate the library into people's lives in West Fargo. So I just want to thank all of you for your planning and your guidance and all those efforts in 2020. And a lot of people have asked me if we're going to continue providing some of the new services that we started in 2020, and some we absolutely will, but I think it's really less about continuing a set of specific services and more continuing the way that we did work in 2020, which was really identifying where there were new needs and changes community-wide, because there were some big changes community-wide, and we responded to that. And so I think it's, for me, what's important about 2020 and the lesson learned is that we are really responsive to new needs that cropped up and adjusted really fast. And I think it's more about the way that we did the work that is important. So, and we're really doing that proactively with our community input project that we're working on now. And I want the board to know that we have an amazing group of people who work for us at the WFPL that will take what we learn through that community input project and make it actionable. And I think 2020 was just a preview of how great our full library team is at innovating and responding to community needs. So I'm really excited about the future. So I will stand for any questions about the report.
Have you heard much feedback from the public about it?
About the report? I haven't heard a lot of direct feedback about the report itself, but I've sent it to a lot of people, and a lot of people really enjoyed seeing the year in review and enjoyed seeing all of the community comments that were included in it, which was really good feedback to get. So I sent it out to a lot of different organizations in the community and different stakeholders. And yeah, so I've gotten good feedback from them on it so far.
Good.
Yeah.
I keep shutting off my mic and forgetting. I thought it was a great report. It's it's interesting to see the graphs. I'm a big graph person, as everybody knows. But it's interesting to see just how well things functioned through the pandemic. It was, you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Any further comments regarding the annual report? Okay, moving on to the director's report.
Thanks, Alana. I have 2 items and then I'll turn it over to Kirsten for a programming update, which is really the exciting part of what? Yes, you can get set up while I talk. Programming update is the exciting part of our director's report because we have a lot of good info to preview before the summer starts. So my 2 items, number 1, survey. We've had the survey up and available for 2.5 weeks. And our response rate as of yesterday was we have had about 530 total responses, which is great. We did a very extensive marketing and media blitz starting the last week of April. We had a lot of TV and radio spots that week. We were very well out there and represented, and it was awesome. And I think it helped a lot because we got a lot of responses in the first week to the survey. We're doing tons and tons of outreach to organizations around the community to ask them for their help in spreading the word. So school district and the faith community and rental companies, if you name a group, we've probably talked to them about getting their help to spread the word. So we still have a lot of feelers that we have out there and a lot of marketing that we're doing. So our big dream is to see if we can get 1,000 responses to it. That would be awesome and ideal. And we're over halfway there. So the survey will be up through the month of May. And then once all of that information is compiled, that will be kind of the last major step in our community input project, and Folkways will work with us to look at all the results from the full project and analyze those. And then that's what we will use to build our actual strategic plan off of. So exciting to be at this part in the process. My next update is that we have hired a new deputy director of public services. Maria Kramer will be starting the 1st or 2nd week of June. We are still nailing down a start date. Maria is the current youth services manager for the Pueblo City County Library System in Pueblo, Colorado. So she is moving with her family to West Fargo in the next month, and she's really, really excited. I think she's going to be fantastic in this role, and she oversees youth services for their entire library system, and I think she'll do a great job in this new role overseeing public service departments at the West Fargo Public Library. So, and Commissioner George was on the hiring committee, so big thank you to Commissioner George for taking the time and being part of the process.
That was a huge pleasure and an honor. I really enjoyed being part of that process. I think Maria will be great. Comes with a lot of experience. So.
Yeah, she's
Feel
awesome.
free to invite her to the June meeting if she'll be interested in coming.
She should be started then, and she will absolutely, I will be inviting her. And yep, so she will, if she's in place, which I think she will be by then, she'll definitely be coming because it is June 17th. We rescheduled it. So it's a little later in the month if you remember. So yes. Does anybody have any questions for me before Kirsten talks about programming?
How many years has it been since we've had this deputy director?
It has been, so my understanding is that it's probably been like 3 or 4 years since that position has existed at the library.
So we've had that position for 3 or
Basically
4
so.
years, or we previously had that position and
It-
haven't for the last 3 or 4 years?
So it was a position that existed at the library in the past, but we haven't had it for it. We haven't had a deputy director or an assistant director for the last 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's great timing.
It's all you. Go ahead.
Me, I get to talk now. Let me share my screen so people in Zoom can see. Okay, so for those watching, and all of you in the room know my name. My name is Kirsten Hennigan. I'm the Adult Services Manager at the library. I have a bunch of stuff that I'm going to spew at you, but I have time for questions and things like that at the end as well. So Recent programs, we've had a really good mix of things that are happening at the library as well as out in the community in May and back in April. A few things I'll highlight that aren't or are also said in your board reports is that Lauren went to the West Fargo Events Earth Day event, which is up in the top corner where she's with the bus. And she had the recording pause here. Hold on, let me really quick.
I actually can't see your screen. I'm sorry.
You can't? Okay, hold on. Well, good thing I have you out there to answer my questions.
It says Alicia is sharing a screen.
Alicia?
I can vouch that that event did happen. I was there.
You
I
were
want to
there.
see it. I want to see it.
They earned their salary. It was good to see the bus, very prominent position. It was very red. It stood out.
All right, hold on a second.
I didn't see any children running towards it, but I bet by the end of the summer, that's what they'll be doing.
Momentarily while I fight with this computer. I believe in you, Zoom. You can do it.
Oh, I apologize if I mispronounced the name. Maybe it's Alicia.
No, it's Alicia. You got it right.
All right.
You're good. Can you see it now?
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, goodness. We got it. Go team. Okay, so then the other ones that I'll also highlight is that Lauren also went to Heritage Middle School and met with students and did a craft and shared more about the summer as well. And we also, as a programming team, went and did a little bus training this last week. So we took the bus out and everybody got to turn to drive it around the parking lot in the South Elmwood baseball fields parking lot. So people saw the bus taking a lot of loop-de-loos. That was just us as we practice backing up, going forward, doing other things, because we'll have a good number of us that will be driving that bus this summer that haven't driven it in the past. We also held a faux succulent hanging garden class. Another board member attended that one. We purchased a Cricut maker while we were during the pandemic to help us with programs and cutting up a bajillion items that we do for programs, but also for in the future for patrons to use and utilize the services of that. So that one was fun. And then most recently, Sarah, our children's services librarian, led a crew out at Color Fest. If any of you guys went to that as well, she gave away almost 200 activity kits and had over 300 people stop by the library table that was decked out as a part of the street as the city's construction is happening down on Cheyenne.
And I want to interject on that because I was one of those families that stopped by there, and I had two of my kids with me, and they did a great job engaging with my kids and talking about the books they like and referring them to other series that are different but similar to what they're reading. So they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, Lindy was out there too. You were volunteering.
Lindy is who we
Carissa.
talked to.
Yeah, Lindy's great at finding recommendations. Now let's jump into summer and Little Red Reading Bus. A big transition that we're doing this year with summer reading is transforming into a summer learning program. And that's something that we've been doing over several years. It's not like a light switch and we changed our minds and now it's something else, but the foundation is similar for previous years and having still that reading challenge, but is a much more strengthened focus with programs and the things that we're doing throughout the summer with the bus as well. We'll continue to have programming for all ages and utilizing Beanstack for those challenges and support reading, but also reinforce a broader learning of STEM, STEAM, art, all the fun things that go into that. Along with that change of going to summer learning, we have a fun new brand that we're doing with this. And I'm very excited about this new logo that Ellen made. And so now our program will be called Summer Boost Program. So it's not only for reading, but all the other components of learning as well. And I'm sure you remember this from before, the outcome-based planning and evaluation. And that's been a very large focus for us as we have started this journey into summer learning. I know it happened in previous years. We kind of stepped back and said, okay, if we're going to do this, let's use this formula for this large service change that we're making. So this is our first big effort and service of programs that we've pushed through this process. I've learned a lot about myself and the things that I don't like and things that are hard, but it's been fun along the way too. So in the beginning, gathering info, we talked to a lot of different stakeholders and partners. We referenced a lot of local data, census data, district data. And all of that at the beginning, which helped us draft and then confirm our outcomes with the mobile library task force, which Jody is on. And we've really been in the thick of developing programs and services. So for example, oh my gosh, I need the mouse part of this thing. We are here. That's where we are. And so we're now in the fun part of making the things happen and creating the ways in which we'll measure that through over the summer. We are finalizing our calendar and we'll jump into the execution and evaluation over the summer. And then we'll bring all of that great evaluation information digested and organized once we have the results of the summer back to you here. But know that that is coming in the next coming months while we do all of the other fun stuff with the bus. To remind you, and just in case you don't remember what our outcomes were, we actually drew up 6 outcomes, but then actually kind of squished them into these 5. Really focused on experiential learning, getting youth excited, engaged in their learning, and maintaining their language art skills. We did broaden that from just reading to include writing, speaking, and vocabulary holistically. That was a concern that was brought up in many of our stakeholder meetings, that it was something that reading as a part of that, yes, with all the other things that go into language as well. We have an outcome focused on helping build social connections for all ages, especially coming off of the pandemic and a year of not normal education and learning experiences for students, finding ways for them to meet other students, build those relationships, and build those relationships with each other and their family as well. We are being very intentional of engaging those that we know we are not serving. That's been a little bit a part of our strategic planning process as well, as identifying who isn't at the library, who isn't present, who doesn't have a library card maybe, how are we not getting to them, and really bringing the bus to them and bringing the library to them a part of the summer as well. And we are going to be building in several components that support learning at home for adults with children as well. This keyboard is very annoying. Okay. What the heck is actually happening? Okay, in real life, what does this look like? Our challenge will go from June 1 to July 31. That's not different than previous years. That's pretty consistent. Prize pickups, for those that are really joking about those prizes, you can still pick those up through August 12th. The bus route itself will go from June 1 through August 11th, and I'll have a little bit more on the route after this. We won't be having a traditional summer reading or summer learning kickoff, but that is where we're going to be inserting a big celebration for the library since it's our 50th anniversary, which I know you guys have been excited about and wanting to learn more about. We will have a handful of speakers, a Friends of the Library book sale at the library, an opportunity to walk through the Little Red Reading Bus. We'll have an interactive art activity for folks to share why they love the library, which will continue to be in the library after this event. We'll have an interactive library history exhibit upstairs in the activity hallway, where we usually have art displays and things like that. We'll have refreshments, door prizes, and obviously a table to celebrate Summer Boost in the Little Red Reading Bus and the ways you can get involved with the library over this summer. Our closing event will be in collaboration with the Parks Department on Red Day at Bookfest. So we'll have the bus there. We'll have all of those prizes for people to come and pick up on the last day. And that will be, I think it's at Rendezvous Park. And in regard to the challenge, there's one new component that I've got to say is that we are having a middle school group focused on them, because that is a group that Lauren, the youth services manager, has been very intentional about creating relationships with the middle schools to help them get excited about learning and reading as they then venture into high school later as well. So I'm sure you are also all dying to know, what does an actual route stop look like? What can you expect at a stop? How long are they? All that good stuff. We will continue to have those foundational components of the bus that it had in the past. But in addition, we'll have programmed elements on the route as well. Each week, the morning routes will be essentially the same every time. And the evening routes will be like other evening route stops. Each stop will be an hour in length. We'll have books to check out and have that pop-up library circulation station that people are used to. In the mornings, we'll have story times, song, play elements, as well as activities that get folks moving, grooving, and learning all together. In the evening routes, we'll have our jumbo games like Giant Connect 4, giant Jenga, a big tic-tac-toe and checkers board. We'll have music, bubbles, hula hoops, fun activities that really get families engaged with each other. And from how does this happen from like the actual library component of it? What's it going to be looking like from the staffing component? We'll have a lead staff member that will drive the bus and lead activities. And then we'll have a secondary staff member that will be focused on circulation at a stop. And then we'll have volunteers that support all components of a route stop, setup, takedown, programs, circulation, helping people read sort of in the little like reading circles, helping find books that they're looking for, all that good stuff. I also have the routes on this slide. If you guys haven't seen it yet, we will have 4 morning stops or 4 morning routes, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday mornings, all reaching different parts of town. And then 2 evenings that we'll have stops at as well. Almost there. But the bus route and programs aren't only going to be at the library or on the bus route. We'll be doing a lot of community events as well. So a lot of those programs or partnerships that we've had programs at before are going to continue this summer. So we'll have several West Fargo events, family fun nights that we attend. They're doing something new this year called Lunch on the Lawn at both of the plazas on Monday. I think it's 3 Mondays out of the month. Over the lunch hour where they'll have games and all kinds of good stuff. And we'll also show there up there with the bus and have books for everybody to have. We'll continue to be a part of city events, community events. We'll be at Night to Unite. West Fargo Events is having a fun event called Kidchella this year. So there'll be face painting, temporary tattoos, all that good stuff. And we'll also be having events at the library. This is just a few of them that we're doing that I wanted to highlight. 2 that I'm particularly very excited about is the Pet Rocks one. It's a little homage to our 50th anniversary because the Pet Rock came out in the 70s. And it'll be a fun activity for everybody in the family. And the other one being the Cows and Ice Cream event, because in addition to cows, there will also be 2 miniature horses. I'm a very big Parks and Rec fan, and it's like having 2 little Sebastians at the library, and I'm very excited about it. That is actually all I have. We're going to have a very busy summer. We're very excited about it, and that was a lot of information for you to digest about what summer is going to really look like, but happy to take any questions.
Okay, your presentation has triggered 2 questions and a brief comment. I promise I'll be brief. My questions are triggered by your talk about driving the bus. First of all, are volunteers allowed to drive that, or is the city fully staffed enough that it's only paid employees?
Only employees that will be driving the bus.
Okay, just a general question. Is it what they call a stick shift, a manual transmission?
Oh, no, it is just like a big SUV.
Okay,
so it drives just like a car does. You're just a little higher off the ground.
Okay, so this was just kind of okay, have you ever driven anything this big?
Yeah, in my Subaru, my shifter is down here, although it's not a stick shift. And now my shifter's up here again. I got to learn that on a vehicle.
It's a lot lower barrier than it looks on.
Yes, it looks daunting, but it is really just a big SUV. It's like driving a big Yukon XL.
Okay, good. And then my brief comment would be for the June 10th event, is it planned to be after hours as well?
Yes.
I know it's a long day, but I would recommend having it at least sometime after 5 for the families that both parents work and they just can't get their kids there at 1 in the afternoon.
Yep, absolutely. I did not say what time it is. It's going to be from 3 to 7. The actual speaking parts of the event aren't going to start until after 5 o'clock. So it'll be really the actual speaking components of the event will start about 5:30 and then go till about 6:30. And then the other components will be the whole time. So from the whole 3 to 7, we'll have people doing tours. You'll be able to do the art activity, refreshments, the book sale will run the whole time of the event. So
is it 100% inside the building like past years, or is there events outside as well?
Most things will be in the building. The only thing that will be outside is the tours of the bus.
The what?
The bus tours, if you're going to go through the bus.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. No horses that night outside.
No horses that night, unfortunately.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hey, no problem.
Before we move on, I would like to speak for myself, and I don't know if any of the other board members would like to, but I am happy to volunteer in any capacity needed, specifically on the anniversary night, or maybe even some of the other community events. I think it'd be advantageous to have board members out in the public.
We are looking for route volunteers. So if anybody is
Did you say
interested in
route
that,
volunteers?
route volunteers, I'm looking at Kirsten because she's been coordinating route volunteers. So yes, we're
Oh.
looking for volunteers for the 50th event and the route. Do you have other things you want to add to that? Sorry.
Yes, you can absolutely volunteer on the route, and there is, I mean, I can send you the link, but it's just an interest form if you're interested. We are looking for people to join us on the route on any of those days, mornings and evenings. We have done some additional outreach to specific groups, like we've inquired into, like the police department's going to be helping us there. The student resource officers that are already very aware with the students will be joining us at some capacity on the route. We have several of our stakeholder organizations that helps donate on Giving Hearts Day. I'll also be volunteering, and we have individuals as well. But I'd love to have you guys join us on the route, as well as the 50th anniversary. There's going to be plenty of opportunities too.
I will send you all a link to our volunteer sign up form
Yes,
after the meeting.
Excellent.
thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, we're nearing the end, is the Mobile Library Task Force Action Summary.
That's just on there for you to look at as part of the director's
Okay.
report. So I don't have anything to add on it. It's just a summary for you guys to see.
Jody, do you have anything to add?
No, I think it was really covered well in the programming update. I know a lot of hard work went into optimizing the route. So it was nice to see it all put together I had not seen the little graphic you had there. That was really cute. So it's exciting to see that it's almost ready to start.
Moving on to other business. Is there any other business? Everybody's
The
making-
library's done very well the last year. I just wanted to thank everybody. I know that was a scary time last March and no one knew what was going to happen. And here we are almost on the other side. So I want to thank the staff and thank the community for not giving up on the library.
Good point. And one more time, let's just review. We do have the community survey, which can be found, I imagine, on the West Fargo Public Library webpage, and the anniversary celebration coming up. So we have some big things happening, and we look forward to seeing everybody.
Will there be surveys at the celebration or is it too late by then?
The survey will be closed out by then.
Okay, did you hear that, public? So just get to the library now. Don't wait till the party.
Don't wait too long. Take it in May.
Is there any other business? Now's your time, Larry.
I move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
I will
Is-
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Sorry for interrupting on that one. The motion passed. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.